Now, I'd like to welcome all of you onto the stage with us today for the webinar on connecting with children during the pandemic that we are going to have with Mrs. Sandhya Saldanha. I hope I pronounced your surname correctly. Yeah? Okay, great. So, before I go ahead with giving you a little introduction on Sandhya, let me tell you about EMOTICONS India. We are a psychological counseling, testing, training, and research center. And along with our other counselings and therapies, we also do one-on-one play therapy sessions with the children. And we also have certificate courses and trainings in play therapy within our organization. And so play therapy is really near and dear to us, and we really do believe that it is something that helps children immensely. So now to go on to Mrs. Sandhya. She is a child and family therapist and a highly experienced play therapist who is currently working in UK. And she has also had experience with working in Canada. And I think I'd like her to say a little more about what she has done and introduce herself a little better for everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, Anisha. I live in Wales, Cardiff, Wales, in the UK. So I would say hello in Brynhamda in Wales. Good day to all of you. It's been a privilege working as a play therapist because I get to witness the children's inner worlds and the way of thinking. I love their spontaneous energy. I love their ruthless honesty. Children can seem a bit rude and nasty at times, but they are saying what they see. And I love that about it. Mm-hmm. And my work as a play therapist or a teacher or learning and support for children with autism in school has, as much as their vulnerability touches my heart, I think that makes me want to protect their rights and, support them. I think it's their tenacity to move on, to see their ingenuity, to see life in a different perspective has been a learning lesson for me. Yes, I've done my master's in play therapy. And after having done that, I have a level 1 Theraplay training, which is a non-verbal touch-based therapeutic way of working with children. And I've also had some training in Sandhya work in a mindful way with adolescents and adults. And all this put together influences my practice and how I relate to children and their families. Play therapy may seem like it's just therapy with children in isolation, but it's not. It's work with the family as well. In my experience, and as the pioneering play therapist Gary Landreth has said, it's very important to empower parents to be able to support their children in the way they need to be supported. If we as therapists are able to give parents an insight to the inside world of their children, the way they think, the way they feel, it empowers them to support them in the correct way. And it takes me back to our discussion, Anisha, of what the topic of this webinar should be. And parenting in the pandemic was one of the catchy phrases. But I believe that parenting is a mindset. It's not a set of characteristics in a person or a set of behaviors, but it's a mindset. It's the way you think about it. And that's why I thought connecting with children would be a more appropriate way of doing it, because there's no one solution that fits all. We all have different parenting styles. Some may seem appropriate and some may not. Or we are influenced by our culture, the way we've had our bringing, our environment, our experiences. So it's about understanding the child and connecting with the child at their needs, at their level. So I thank Anupama for getting me in touch with Nikunja and Anisha at Emoticons and giving me this opportunity to share my passion with all of you.
Thank you. And we're also very grateful that she actually got you here with us, because this is such an important topic and it's really essential for everyone to really see what it's like from the side of the child as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which actually brings me to, so currently with this pandemic and everything happening, there are so many challenges that we as adults face, that adolescents face, that everyone faces. But what do you think these challenges would look like for the children? What are the challenges that they might be facing?
Yeah. I think the most obvious and most pertinent change at this point is a lifestyle change. Because we are in this lockdown situation and there's a requirement for social distancing, I think children's lifestyles have become more sedentary, not as active as they would have normally been before the pandemic. Going to school, playing during break time outside the classroom, playing with children later on in the evening, going to each other's homes. Because all that has stopped, it's become a very sedentary lifestyle. Physical activity may have gone down, and we all know the benefits of physical activity. It's very good for physical, emotional, cognitive, social, and entire well being of a child. And I think that is the biggest challenge we have at the moment is to keep them engaged physically, which will keep them engaged mentally. And that is hard to do because we all live in different circumstances and have different situations. So that could be a biggest challenge. Um, the use of virtual media may have gone up because I am busy at work and there are parents who are working from home as well. Or maybe I'm not, I'm busy doing housework. It's difficult to be with your child 24/7 mentally or physically. And that's an easy option, isn't it? And it's natural. There is no judgment, for a lack of a better word. There's no judgment on it because everyone's situation is different. And that could um, gives rise to a challenge of where there can be confusion in this currently quick, changing situation. So, um, because they are engaged in that virtual medium, they could be socially disengaging. And that's why you could see behaviors like the fear of the unknown, there's be frustration about uncertainty, confusion about social behavior, social and behavioral expectations, the lack of because of the lack of human contact, and there could be a lot of mix-up feelings about staying at home. Why do I need it? Especially for younger children who really can't. What does this virus mean really? Unless they see someone really ill, which may have happened in some families, unfortunately. But this is the biggest challenge that you would see with children. The uncertainty and what the expectations could be, and the unknown fears.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's something that, again, if we look at it, that's exactly what we as adults are also facing: the uncertainty, the nervousness of what's actually happening. And in fact, some adults are also kind of you know having mixed feelings about just staying at home.
Yep.
So if we look at it, the children at some level are almost having the equal emotions and the equal challenges that we have, or
Absolutely.
at the same platform at least.
Yes. Definitely what we are experiencing, children learn from their environments. They're sponges. They learn from what they see, what they hear, what they touch, what they smell. And they are very sensitive to what the significant adults or parents or caregivers are feeling and experiencing at that time. So definitely you would see similar kind of feelings with children that adults are feeling at the moment. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, well, these are certain things that children are having in the situational context right now. with this uncertainty or just everything else, is there anything that might have a more long term effect on the children, where there is a long term emotional or psychological impact on them because
Oh,
of the
yes.
situation?
Yes, definitely. There have been studies done. They call the ACEs studies, the Adverse Childhood Experiences Studies, which have shown that children who've had uh, adverse, and when you say adverse, there's a degree of adversity. Um, they are known to have medical problems like heart diseases or mental illnesses or disorders uh, in adults, or difficulty in maintaining relationships, or hypertension, blood pressure issues. So what children experience in their childhood will show on them well-being, their mental well-being and their physical well-being as adults. And research has shown that, and they're called ACEs studies. So we've often heard that we are all in it together, right?
Yeah.
We are all in it together, but we are not responding. Each one of us is responding not in the same way. I think we all have our strengths, our challenges, and some of us are more expressive and we can express our feelings and talk to somebody or do some activity that helps you resolve those feelings. And some of us are unable to do that because they may not have the opportunity, or they don't know how to express it, or they don't have a medium to engage with that will help them solve these thoughts and fears and anxieties. And when that happens, these fears, anxieties, feeling of sadness perhaps continues to stay on with us. And as they stay on with us unresolved, they start affecting our everyday life. And that is when you see that, it's affecting our mental well-being. So although we are in the same situation, we are all responding to it differently. And of course, how we manage it at this point, or how children manage it at this point in their life, will impact on how they're going to respond when there's a next situation that is threatening them. I hope we never have a pandemic in this lifetime for us again. But there could be other situations that could trigger off similar responses. Yeah. It could be running in a race, something as simple as running in a race on a sports day, that could trigger off certain anxieties they're feeling at this point, and they could react to it in a similar way. So definitely, the way they manage their or the way adults are able to support them to manage their feelings at this point could affect them in the long run, and we could see an increase in self-harming behavior among children, anxiety, oppositional defined behaviors, or they could be on the other side of the spectrum. They could be withdrawn from social situations or withdrawn from interactions. So it's about seeing the whole mental well-being, which is mental well-being is not just the absence of a mental disorder. It's the ability of an individual or a child to be in that happy place, that calm place, that allows them to cope with the life stresses. And definitely this situation will have a long-term impact on children and families if not resolved in the appropriate way best for the family at this point in time.
Right. Yeah, I think that's just how we see it then. It's like just the way you can express and maybe bring it out right now would really define how it's going to be ahead in the future.
Yeah.
And something like this was so unforeseen that what will come ahead is also going to be similar.
Yes. Yes. I think this talk has been on education for a while. It's preparing the child for the unknown future, because nobody knows what the workplace is going to look like. But who knew it was going to be as disastrous as this? It is unfortunate that we're in this situation, but there are a lot of learnings to be taken forward from here as well. And I think if we are able to, as parents, as caregivers, as significant adults, are able to give that problem solving attitude,
Mhm.
that would move on, that would probably, build that resilience and confidence in our children to move on as well.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting that you said this, because this is something that we at Emoticons India as well believe, that if we can prepare the child for the future and make them think in such a way that it's more problem solving oriented rather than problem oriented, it would really, really benefit them.
Yeah.
And in fact, we also have programs for this. One of them called Selfie, which completely dwells into this, where we just help the children in having that problem solving orientation for the future.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, yeah, that's definitely something that we also believe in. Yeah. Yeah. So, just another thing then, like with adults, we've got all these words, we've got a good vocab to really express everything.
Yeah.
And it is said amongst everyone that play is sort of the language of the children. That's what they learn, that's how they express. So, with the current situation right now, do you think there would be any sort of changes that would be visible in the way the children are playing with their usual toys? Or if there is any sort of sudden disinterest that has come in with playing with toys itself?
Uh, Definitely, as I said, humans they learn from what they see, what they feel, what they experience. And children are learning from their environment all the time. Um, so the way children use play is to make sense of the world. It is an opportunity to reenact their experiences. It is an opportunity to resolve certain conflicts that they may have experienced in the real situation
Mhm.
by playing out. But there is a bolster in playing. There's a kind of protection because it's in a safe way. It's all pretend, right? So yes, there would be a difference in the way children play. And I think if we observe them, you will find those energies that they're feeling, probably of fear, of confusion, of anxiety. So the way they respond to their experiences and how they are sensing their adults at this point. And the biggest factor is social media, because our TVs are on all the time, isn't it? Because we want to know the latest coronavirus news. But that can impact the way children play. You may see, maybe preoccupied with a certain kind of play, or they could be obsessive with a certain kind of play. I remember one of my colleagues saying one of their clients thought the air in the front of the house was different from the air at the back of the house. So the air in the back of the house was safer than the one going the front of the house, because that went out of the house and it's not safe to go out. So it's not okay, it's not safe for me to be there. So that kind of a paranoid approach to things can be seen in play and behavior of children. Um, so I think it's about looking at the themes or the sequence of play that's repeated. And anytime children have a certain behavior they're unable to resolve, they'll play and replay and replay and replay it again to make sense of it. And probably that's where the significant adult could come in with um, um, with a resolve, perhaps, but only if the child is ready. And we talk about it as we will go on in the conversation, perhaps. So the repetitiveness of a sequence or a repeating theme in the play would be your cue of a difference in the way the child is playing. Some of them who are socially withdrawn,
Mhm.
they could be more engaging more in the video games or virtual games, and you could see irritability there. Oppositional, defiant behaviors if you're not given that medium to be engaged in. So it's important to follow the repeated theme of probably fear, anger, sadness, worry. So that's how you see the change in play from how it used to be before the pandemic, perhaps.
Okay. Okay. And I hear that you were saying that this is the way they can make sense of it. This is how they sort of see it and try to adjust to it. So, do you think then uh, that play could be used as a medium to help them deal with this uncertainty? And if yes, yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
now you're talking. You're talking what I like to do the best. Playing is fantastic. I think it's not easy always. Play, every time, even when I have children come to me, parents will ask, and it's one of the things I've written on my brochures. Please do not ask the child if they've had fun in the playroom, because sometimes play can be not fun. And although although there are some serious themes in play, it always has a lighter tone to it, isn't it? Because it's pretend. Most often plays pretend. So younger children, as you said earlier, younger children don't have enough vocabulary. Older children don't have the experience of the vocabulary or may not know the vocabulary to express their feelings. And usually you find that adolescents respond better through medium of art or games or sport, where you can make connections with them. And I think play is that medium of expressing where you don't really need words. You're acting it out, you're playing it out. And that is why play can become a very useful medium at this point in time. I think play gives child voice. So we know the mommy daddy games, don't we? What happens in the home? What happens when mommy and daddy fight? And you can see that happening. And what happens when, for example, in this instance, if you, Anisha, are the mom and I'm the child, and we're playing hospitals, and I ask you, mommy, how are you feeling today? And perhaps you say, I'm okay, Sandhya. So where are we? So we are in a hospital. And um, you're the doctor, mummy, and I'm the patient. And probably mummy will ask me as the doctor, what would you ask me? Anisha, you're the doctor now.
So probably, so I wonder how you're feeling today.
You know what? I think I have coronavirus.
Oh, is it?
Do you have coronavirus, mummy?
So what would you like me to say to this?
You say you be honest with the child. Do you have coronavirus?
Not right now, I don't.
Will you die, mummy?
Not right now, I won't.
Right. So in this sequence, we are playing. We are in the hospital. Your mom, I'm the child.
Mhm.
And then my fear was straight away, right? It's out there. Are you going to die? Do you have coronavirus? And that is like the fear. Like children have separation anxiety when they're younger, and losing a significant adult is a huge fear for them, right? But we need to make that opportunity for them to voice it. And play gives them the opportunity to voice it. And this is what just happened. I'm worried. Are you ever going to get coronavirus? Will you ever die? Because that's what I'm hearing on TV. That's what happened to the auntie two buildings down my lane. I don't know. So play gives children a voice. Maybe older children, they would give arts and crafts, or potting plants together, cooking together, cleaning the house together, exercising together, would give you opportunities to connect with them and give them opportunities to speak out their worries, their fears. And I think it's a beautiful channel for parents to build that communication with their children. So here I'm going to say that there is an approach by Dan Hughes, which is called PACE, which is playfulness, acceptance, curiosity, and empathy. If we are, as adults, are able to get that little playfulness in us out as well, accept the child where they are. As parents or adults, we have that protective instinct, right? We don't want our child to feel this way, and we say, oh, don't worry, nothing's going to happen to me. But that's not reality, isn't it?
Mhm.
Something could happen to me, and it's okay if it does. And play gives that opportunity to talk about it. It's about curiosity. It's about, so, right, I think you are asking me if I have coronavirus. I'm wondering if, you want to know if mommy could ever get coronavirus. Is that what you're asking? And the answer is yes. But, and it's okay, because we have medicines and we have doctors and we have, people looking after us at the hospital. And that is the curiosity, instead of distracting the child to something else, or getting yourself distracted. Oh, that'll never happen, which can be a natural response. It's about that curiosity to let them explore in this interaction called play, and the empathy of, yes, I can understand you have that fear. I have it too, but it's okay. We can get through this. So play opens that channel of communication between parents. It also helps regulate. So if you can use things like puppets here. So I have these little finger puppets. You can make puppets on your fingers at home. That you don't always need fancy resources. You can make things at home. So hi, Anisha.
Hi.
How are you today, Anisha?
I'm all right. I'm all right.
You look a bit. Let me see. Are you scared?
A little bit, yes. A little.
Oh, you are scared. Hmm. I'm scared too. I didn't see my friend yesterday. I always meet my friend on Friday after school, and I didn't see her yesterday.
Oh, what happened to her?
Mommy says I can't meet my friends.
Oh, is that so?
Hmm.
I wonder
Can
how.
you meet your friends, Anisha?
Well, right now, neither can I. I can just see them on a screen or just on calls. I haven't met my friends either.
Mommy says that too.
Yeah, I know. It makes me sad too, I wonder if it makes you sad.
Yes,
Yeah.
and mommy doesn't let me.
Oh, and what do you feel like doing then?
I just stay quiet.
Mm.
So that's one way of using what you have at home to play. I think it's a good way of regulating emotions as well. So it's an opportunity to do it in a playful way. So if you were angry, for example, do you like balloons, Anisha?
Yes, I do.
All right. I want to go out, but mom's not letting me go out, and daddy said it's not safe, and I'm getting bored at home. And okay, like to blow balloons? Come on, you're feeling angry. I can see you feeling angry. Should we blow all this anger in this balloon? Come on, then. You want to hold your hands like a balloon, Anisha, and blow it. How are you feeling? How are you feeling right now? I'm feeling angry.
Yes, I'm feeling very, very angry.
Very, very angry. And it's all in here, and I'm going to let it go.
Okay.
And my balloon's gone.
Yeah.
And probably it's made a funny sound. It hasn't been as effective now, but usually what happens is you end up laughing
Yeah.
because a balloon makes a stupid, silly sound. But what's happened here is in this interaction, I have acknowledged your feeling. I have acknowledged that you want to do something about it, and let's sit down. So it's physically grounding you.
Mm-hmm.
It's physically regulating your breathing because you're breathing and exhaling into the balloon. So it's regulating your feeling. And I am regulated as a parent. You are regulated as a child. And laughter is the best uh, medicine here, isn't it?
Yes.
So I
Excuse
think there's a
me.
hand up. Are you going to take it on later or?
Yes. So we can address all the questions at the end. I'll leave the space open. So at that time, we'll do that. Yeah.
Lovely. So then it could be a fun and happy activity that can, get that neurological change in our body where the brain secretes a hormone called oxytocin. I will not go into the technicalities because we have a broad audience. So it's about making us feel happy in body and mind, and play can do that at this point in time.
That's just quite a different way of seeing it. And I mean, first of all, let me go to the part where we had that small sort of interaction in the hospital where the child actually just asked me, "Are you going to die?" That's that question in itself definitely took me aback. Like I as a parent in that moment did not know what to say.
Yeah.
But it was lovely how you, when later on when you spoke of the same thing, essentially what you did was reflect that question back first, and then you sort of just said that we're not sure, and you just gave the child the truth in a mild and sort of relaxed manner.
Yeah.
Which, is such a wonderful way of just saying that a child needs to know what's happening, but in a relaxed manner and not in a manner where it's exaggerated. Or because it's definitely something very different, and it's definitely something that brings us back. Yeah. So what right now what we were talking about, it was how a child could, one technique was blow their anger into a balloon and throw it, or we could use finger puppets, or we could just use regular puppets and just have a conversation. Now, would you think that some of these methods might be slightly different for children having certain neurodiverse or learning difficulties?
Well, definitely, children with neurodiverse challenges and needs would have their own prerequisite challenges. But connecting with children wouldn't be any different. Uh, Obviously, the way you connect with children the children who have these challenges would be to be aware of where their strengths are and working more on their strengths, but connecting with the child, of accepting the child where they are, of accepting their expression, of acknowledging their emotion, of helping them resolve their fears and anxieties and whatever they're feeling at the moment. It is more about adapting those ways of connecting, like potting a plant. If the child is able to pot the plant, is physically able, Potting a plant is a beautiful activity where it's very multisensorial, it's very engaging. You're putting the soil in the pot. If you're using seeds, you see it grow together, you look after it together. That could be one way of connecting. Children who have uh, certain challenges may be happy to play in a way of dramatics or dressing up, being different characters, and give them opportunity there to express themselves if they have limited vocabulary for that reason. Um, Imaginary play is beautiful. It's and you can do imaginary play with anything. Those children who are sensory challenged or they don't like sensations, you could have these activities, like the balloon, blowing the balloon, releasing it. You can have balloon tennis to regulate their emotions as well. So if I blow up a balloon, we're actually hitting the balloon to each other like a tennis or game of badminton. If that is so, now hit it with your elbow, now hit it with your palm, you hit it with your head. It's about physically engaging and grounding children and helping them regulate. And it has to be adapted to the challenges and the strengths of that child. So connecting will not be any different. It's the same pace. It's the playfulness, it's the acceptance, it's the curiosity and the empathy of how they're feeling at that time. But the way it is done has to take into account their challenges.
Right. So there's actually one question that's come to me that I feel would be a relevant time to ask it. Someone has asked, how would we be able to motivate a child to engage in any of these activities when they're just not interested in doing something like this?
I think it's important to find out what interests them. I am just sharing you a very limited palette of things that can be done with children. Is this a parent or is this a professional asking the question?
I am not sure.
Okay. If it's a parent, I can see parent. Is this Shasha?
Yes.
Yeah. I think you know your child best, and it is. I think that's where the curiosity would come in for the parent to find out what is it that the child really engages in, what is it they want to do. I think here it's important to give the child the freedom to choose as well. Um, as parents, we know we have to set our boundaries, we have to do things a certain way, and that's fine. But sometimes it's about giving the child that space and that control over things in a safe way. So, if as a parent you're able to have this conversation about, I am wondering what you would like to do today, and be accepting of that activity if it's not really beyond doing. You can work with a lot of limitations here, but it's about that curiosity, about finding out what activity the child will like to do. So, if you're not, wanting to play a board game, would you like to make chapatis with me or bake a cake with me, or um, those kind of activities which allow them to get physically engaged and mentally engaged, and giving that space to start talking about things. I hope that's helpful.
I believe that has answered it to some extent, where essentially what we have to do is see what the child wants. There might
Yes.
be a lot of things, and at one point we might actually feel my child's just not interested in anything. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's never the case.
yeah,
Probably I am not interested in what my child wants to do as well, because sometimes children want to play a certain thing and you're tired, you don't want to do that. Or they want to do a certain board game perhaps, but you don't have the patience and the concentration at that point, or you just don't like it. So it's about also finding activities that the parents and the child are interested in, some kind of common things that they would. Sometimes children say, oh, it's boring, I don't want to do. plant a potter plant or whatever,
Mhm.
and saying at least give it a go. If you don't like it, we'll stop. Or if you don't like it, mom will do it, and then we can choose something else. It's about having that openness and communication and keeping the dialogue going, where you will hopefully be able to find out what the child wants to do. It's a no one said it's simple. It's I'm
Mhm.
making it sound very simple that you'll ask and the child will tell you. It doesn't work that way. It's about keeping that conversation going.
Right. So there's another question which, so Sasha says thank you. Yes. There's another question at this moment where they're asking, what would we do with children who are, suppose, more than 10 years of age? So I'm guessing that would be around approaching teenage years and the
Yes.
teenage years.
Yes. I was going to share this with you anyway. So, can you see this canvas at the back?
Yes.
This was painted by my son and I last year. It was one of his holidays where he was just mopping around the house and he wasn't sure what to do. And I said, okay, would you like to paint? And he was like, yeah, okay, whatever. So it was mom's suggested an activity and I'm going to do it. But the way to get him engaged was you choose the picture, you choose what you'd want to do. And he chose this from the internet. And as we started painting, we were talking about a holiday. We'd gone on a road trip to Canada, and this is a typical view of one of the lakes, the glacial lakes, of what he might have seen, and he had never spoken about it. So this is one way, and he was 13 then. So this is one way of engaging. Those who are interested in arts and crafts, I think it's easy to find ways of engaging. This is also my children and I did it together. So it's again a lot of focus, concentration, but gives you a lot of time to talk about things. I think sports is one where I think children would engage, girls and boys who are physically very active. If mom and dad or whoever the sporty person is in the house do push-ups together, you know, do exercises together. Cooking is a brilliant activity. It's very relaxing. It's very engaging and yet very communicative. And you come up with something nice at the end of it to eat, which is fantastic. Food is so important, isn't it? Eating good food at this time. So older children will have different things they would like to engage in. And again, it's about this whole exploration of what would you like to do.
Okay. All right. And so, what if the child, the teenager, does suggest something, say, digital games or
Yeah.
video gaming,
Yeah.
and that is their go to activity? Now,
Mhm.
we as adults would believe that too much of that is not good and that shouldn't be the only way.
Yeah,
So,
but I think if it's a way of connecting with your child, it's worth it. And it's about staying within the boundaries, but yet, uh, you know, accepting where they are and what they like. We always have this thing about, oh, the youth of today, but we have been the youth in the past, and we can connect with the youth of the present.
mhm,
Although there may be a generation gap, I think it's about even appreciating what they like. So you can have a limitation or a boundary saying, yes, we can play an hour of this, uh, but then perhaps you could play a little less in the evening, or just don't put any boundaries. Connect with them as they are. And my son loves to play Mario Kart with me because I lose every time. I'm hopeless. And that kind of gives him a sense of, yes, I beat mom at this. And it's absolutely fine. I had one adolescent child in therapy who would communicate with me by text, didn't want to talk. Usually in play therapy, we don't have anything that belongs to you from the outside coming inside because we want to maintain the consistency of the play and playroom and the environment, therapeutic environment. But That was the only way she was going to connect with me. Pokemon was the only way she was going to connect with me.
Mhm.
And it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, that's it's really nice to know where it's okay to sort of open yourself up to be with your child in what is making him feel a little more supported, a little more connected with you.
Yeah.
And I think once you achieve that connection, after that, even if it's something else that you would want to do together, I think it's just that much better to get into other activities too after that.
Absolutely. I think you're opening up a way you're communicating, which is much larger than just a play.
Mm-hmm.
It's a life skill. You're letting the child know you're loved, you're nurtured, you're accepted, your thoughts are accepted, and I understand where you are right now, and I'm okay with that, and it's okay to feel like that, and sometimes letting the child go through their own process of getting over things and understanding things, and that is the channel of communication that we're trying to open up here.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And while we're at the topic of letting children know and understand things, right now with coronavirus going on, really explaining to the child and really being with them and telling them what is happening is quite difficult, I believe, because we ourselves don't know exactly what's happening. So, how would you suggest we could, parents or caregivers or teachers also for that matter, could explain this situation to them or let them understand what's happening?
Yeah. As I said earlier, children are learning from their environment and from their significant adults all the time. I think the most important thing here is for the adult or the caregiver to understand their own processes about how they feel about coronavirus,
Mm-hmm.
what their thinking is about coronavirus. And we have a natural instinct to save ourselves. And we have this real of rationality, then a social expectation of being the parent, being the strong one, and not showing our vulnerability. But inside, we might all feel very vulnerable. It's natural.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important for parents and caregivers to go through that process themselves and peel off those layers of what is expected of me as a parent, what is expected of me socially, or what does rationality say, and actually accept our own feelings and our thinking process about this. Because if we are not clear about that ourselves, our behavior shows one thing, but we are saying something else. So the child can see fear in my eyes, but I'm saying, "Oh no, no, it's fine. We are all going to be fine." And then there are mixed messages because we're feeling one thing, but our behavior is showing something else, or we're saying something else. So it's very important that we, as are supporting adults to children, we sort out our mixed feelings first, and the acceptance of that feeling for us as well. Yes, this is a scary situation, and therefore I can share with my child, yes, it is a scary situation, but we have ways to get around it. So when I say be brutally honest, I don't say give up hope. Hope is all we live with and live for, but it's about that honesty within yourself, so that then you are able to support the child in the most appropriate way. um, it is to make opportunities to talk about this. So for older children or even for younger children, I think what they see on the news, there are so many videos floating around about coronavirus, some humorous, some serious, some very touching. If you can choose appropriate material to share with your child, there's so many YouTube videos, isn't it? That those can become conversation starters of, oh look, this is what they are doing, what do you think we should do, what's happening in our area, you know I know in India some buildings are sealed because there have been coronavirus incidences there. So what does that mean? Is our building sealed? Now this gives them opportunity to say how they think and what they think, and probably adults then can empower them with actual factual scientific knowledge, that what can be done, what really happens, how does this virus behave. uh, Probably, have a plan, a visual plan of what has happened so far, what to help them see that, okay, the lockdown might, finish at some point. We might be going out again, but, this is what we can do. Have a visual chart for children who are unable to understand just spoken words, but even as a visual reminder for adults and children, it's a good way to plan things out and be prepared as much as we can be prepared, because it's such an uncertain situation. As much as we can be prepared. So it's about planning. Um, and it's about that solution focused approach, that yes, this is a problem. Um, you know, um, this is what we need to do. We need to have a hand washing regime when you come out from back home. You got to change your clothes. You have to have a shower. You do certain things, and that's about highlighting the whole safety. So although that we are in a dangerous situation right now, we can look after ourselves. So these are the few things parents can do to explain the whole coronavirus situation. Towards the end, I remember you'd asked me for some resources, and there's a very nice video on what I've been sharing about PACE, about the playfulness, acceptance, curiosity, and empathy that the University Board of Cardiff and Wales University Board has put in the public domain. And I could share the website with you in the end. If I can share the screen and people could look at it, they can access it later on for ideas.
Sure, I believe that would be a good resource point for people to get some information from a valuable space. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also feel staying connected is very, very important. I know we are using a lot of virtual medium at the moment, and I think it's fine as long as you balance it out elsewhere in your scheme of things. But staying connected gives the child a sense of talking to dadi, nani, or grandparents, or cousins. Gives them a sense of, what, I know my parents love me, but these other people love me too, and they care about me, and they want to know how I am, and you know what, I have this connection, and they can feel safe and resilient in that I have this support network around me. So that's another way of communicating that although this pandemic is dangerous, we can still stay connected and move on.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I think from my end, the last question for today that I would like to ask as of now would be for parents who are working as well, or who are just doing other things at home, they would not necessarily have as much time at hand to really be with the child continuously. So at that point, how do you think they would be able to sort of balance out their responsibilities along with play with children and so give that kind of connection to the child?
It's a difficult one. It's very, very difficult. I always feel working from home is a myth, and it's a very happy place to do that. Actually, it's very hard to work from home because you are in the frame of mind of work, but then you can see clothes are not washed. I have to cook dinner. My child is asking for help. My dog needs the food, but you're still working, and it's a hard one. So I think the first thing is to keep the rhythms of day and night going, keep routines going. Uh, I think a good night's sleep is very important for emotional well-being. If any of us are sleep deprived, we get grumpy, we get irritable, can't concentrate. And for this moment where there is no way we can leave our homes, I think routines need to be maintained. And that's one way of actually uh, setting a timetable for the family as such. I think disciplining parents can, or caregivers can discipline themselves in work about about this is my work time, this is going to be home time, and it's about being very strict with themselves about this. Because when you're at home, it's very tempting to have a work meeting at 7 p.m. in the evening because it's convenient. But if you were out in your office, out of your office, and you were at home at this time, would you have had that meeting? No, you would not have. So it's about parents disciplining themselves in work, that this is home time, this is family time. It's about making special times in the day. So probably in the evening, the family comes together. And I remember growing up, we all got together to watch certain TV serials in the evening, isn't it? And it's about maintaining those routines and rhythms of life which we were used to before the pandemic. That kind of gives children a sense of mom and dad are here if I need them, or my caregiver is here when I need them. It's about making rules and contracts between you and your children. It sounds very formal and business-like now, but it's about again that channel of communication of, should we have the timetable this way? Mom and dad are busy from 9 to 5, but we are going to take frequent breaks. It's important to take those frequent breaks when children are at home with you. So they have that space and time to ask you questions or ask you any difficulties or just need contact with you. So in a span of say 2 hours of work, maybe you come out one for 5 minutes and an hour in between that, if you have younger children. If you have older children, they know that okay, mom's on dad is working from 9 to 12, they'll be out for lunch, and when we have an hour. So it's about them being able to manage that. You can have visual reminders on the door, for if children need to be reminded, oh, mom's at work. Make it humorous, make it playful, make it funny, but make it communicative, that they know that I know I need to call, I need to ask mom something, but hang on a minute, I can wait. Or there's something that's an emergency and they're allowed to burst the door open and come in. That communication should also be free, that I'm here for you. But of course, I can understand it cannot work in reality in all situations. It's about, I think if there are two parents, they need to talk about who's taking over when one is working, who's going to be with the child when one is working, and then they switch. And it's about that understanding as well. So it's about finding the balance right. There's no one right way of doing things. It's about each family finding their own balance, really. So yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay. So there was one question that was very similar on these lines, where someone had asked that their child does not play on their own, and it's a single child and always wants someone there with her or him during play and to play. So at that point, what should the parent do when they really cannot be there with them at all?
I think, yeah, correct. I don't know the details of this. This is not enough information, but I can make suggestions. Is it important for the child to be physically close to this parent? Then at that point, is the parent happy to use a virtual medium like a game on the iPad or something like that with headphones, where the child can be physically close to the parent and not disturbing the parent? It is not the best of solutions at this point in time, but we are not in very peaceful times in terms of the coronavirus situation. When I say peaceful, I mean there are other stresses. It doesn't necessarily be violence or something else going on outside. It's about the unsettling feeling about this situation. Or they could have some activity where they're drawing, painting, engaging, but physically close to the parent. Are the parent happy or comfortable with that? Can they work with that? That could be one way of dealing with it.
All right. Yeah, I think that should, in some way, at least with the limited information that you have, address that kind of a question. And yes, so the one who asked is saying thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think on my end, I have pretty much asked the questions that I wanted from you, that some other people had asked me to ask you. And I would like to open the space up for one or two questions from the audience. And apart from that, I do see there are some questions in the chat box that we could not address right now. But I will have a document with your chats. So later I will send it across to Sandhya and she can probably give her short answers to those, and we can post it up and you can have
Be
them.
happy to do that, yes.
Great. So would anyone like to ask any questions? I believe there was one person earlier whom we had asked to wait till the end. So you can ask your question right now if you're still there.
Hi, I'm Suchitra.
Hi, Chitra.
Suchitra. No, I had
Oh,
not wanted
Suchitra.
to
Sorry. Hi,
ask a
Suchitra.
question. I had just wanted to share. Perfectly fine. When you were talking about, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to share something
Yeah.
about small children not having enough vocabulary to share emotion. So I used to work in a school in Bombay, and part of my work involved making uh, a little, angry, happy, and sad. There were these little circles on which we had made these emojis, okay, and they had sort of stuck them on ice cream sticks. And every day when the children came in, and before we started class, we would ask each child to pick up one of those sticks and say, are you happy, are you angry, or are you sad? And if the child was happy, that was fine. Sometimes we would ask, okay, why are you happy? But if the child was sad or angry, the child would stand separate, and then we would ask the child to say, okay, why are you sad? And then we would say that, okay, maybe this is the reason why you're sad, and maybe this is the reason mommy didn't do this or papa didn't do this. And that was another way of talking it out. And I
Yes.
think I just thought I'd do this. Sorry.
No, thank you for sharing. I think that was a good way of checking in, isn't it? You're checking in with the child. How are you feeling today?
Yeah.
And it's important to acknowledge that feeling because you're validating it. That you
Yes.
feel angry. And why are you feeling angry? Then is the whole curious approach, isn't it? Um, are you sad and is sadness making you feel angry? Or, are you worried and that's making you feel angry? So it's about validating that feeling and giving them the space to talk. Lovely. Thank you.
And also giving them the power to have that emotion,
Absolutely.
so they feel that momentary feeling of power, that I am allowed to feel angry, I'm allowed to feel sad, and
I
I
think
will say that
you
I'm
made
sad that mummy didn't give me my feelings.
you've made a very important point there, Suchitra, because usually children feel they're out of control because adults, we are controlling their life, isn't it? And that sometimes the whole
Yes.
um,
Yes.
oppositional defined behaviors may come from I am feeling out of control, I don't want this, I have been made to do this, I'm feeling out of control. And you've made a very important point there, that they have that control at that moment
Yes.
to be allowed to feel that way and do something about it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
I just really like to thank you for taking some time out to be with us over here and really spread so much more awareness and giving us so much more information about how to deal with this situation and how to connect with our children while doing so.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so
It was
much.
a pleasure.
Thank
It
you.
was a pleasure. Yeah, you're welcome. And I hope what I've shared with you has been helpful and that you'll have more playful times with your children.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.